So between your high school when you started playing and then in the 90s when you started getting recognition, you were playing at, you were doing music. So was this wasn't like a stretch of perseverance until you got a big break because you didn't really care about a big break?
No, I mean, the first label I got signed to was called Instinct Records, and the first single I put out was called Mobility, and it sold 2,000 copies. And then the next single, and this was 1990, and then the next single in 1991 was Go. And all I wanted for Go was that it would sell 4,000 copies. Like that, I remember really being excited at the thought that it might sell 4,000 copies. And then it went on to sell over 1 million copies. And it became one of Rolling Stone's top 200 records of all time. And it was like, and it's just a weird record that I made in my bedroom. And so ever since then, I've just been sort of baffled by what's happened. But I guess one of the things about not expecting success is it gives you the liberty to experiment. And so, I mean, like, for example, the Animal Rights album, which was commercially a failure, to me was a success because I liked it. And I guess if you don't expect much, then you can't be disappointed in terms of success. So, like, if I put out a record and it sells well, great. If I put out a record and it doesn't sell well, that's fine too, as long as it's an interesting record that I like and that hopefully some other people like. I think the worst case scenario is if you put out a record and you want commercial success and you don't have it, and you end up compromising the artistic process to pursue commercial success and nothing works out. So then you've made art that doesn't have inherent merit, and you also have no commercial success. Like, that's the worst. So I'd rather make weird underground records that no one likes but that I like, that don't sell well, than really chase after radio play and commercial success.
Yeah, you have to represent yourself to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about the ratio of risks versus compromises that you've dealt with?
It's weird because I can get excited working on just about any aspect or any part of the song production process. I can get excited about because I'm an engineer and a musician and a producer. So if someone comes to me and says, "Oh, produce this bad song for this bad band," I can get really excited trying to make the kick drum sound fantastic. So sometimes I almost forget about the song, and I just focus on little bits of minutia within the song.
Okay.
Yeah. Wait, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It was because we were talking about compromises. Risks
the compromise. So
risks versus compromise.
And it's strange because compromise isn't always a bad thing. I think sometimes you can learn from compromise. Like, sometimes artists get very attached to a specific way of doing things, and to change that way of doing things could be perceived as a compromise, but sometimes change is how you grow. I mean, there have been times, like there was one song I'd written years ago that I thought was a good instrumental, and someone from my record company criticized it and said, "You know what, it's an okay instrumental, but if you added vocals to it, it'd be a lot better." And I remember actually getting angry. I was like, it felt like a compromise to add vocals to it, but then I tried it and I added vocals to it, and the song ended up being a lot better. So to me, the greatest enemy to the creative process is rigidity. Like deciding that there's only one way of doing something and you're going to stick to that no matter what. But at the same time, if you're too flexible, then you lose your sense of self and your identity. So it's all, I mean, I guess in any part of the creative process, it's balance between, like, the demands of art versus commerce. Because if you just pursue art, you end up with obscure 20th century classical music that no one wants to listen to. And if you just pursue commerce, you end up with pop music that is soulless and vapid. Yeah. So, but if you can combine the two, you end up with the Rolling Stones or Led Zeppelin.